wounded. It happened yesterday during a shootout with a wanted felon who was also killed. Hundreds say Ennis has more from Charlotte.
We watched as we saw dozens of officers and federal agents descend on this scene, knowing many of their own had been shot, some killed. CMPD tells us around 1:30 p.m., a U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force was serving a warrant at this home on Galway Drive. A felon inside was wanted for possessing a firearm. As marshals moved in, someone in the home opened fire on them. They returned fire, shooting and killing a suspect outside the home. As they moved toward that suspect, police say more gunfire erupted from inside the home. Multiple law enforcement officers were hit, including one deputy U.S. Marshal, 2 others on the task force, and 4 CMPD officers who rushed to the scene. Around 2 p.m., we saw an armored truck in the front yard. Officers on the side of the house, their priority, getting to their colleagues who'd been shot while trying to stop the threat. Medic and other officers at a safer distance, waiting for the victims to be brought to nearby ambulances. Minutes later, more SWAT officers arrive, lining up here, taking cover behind a neighboring house as they moved methodically toward the gunfire. Then this harrowing moment, showing the rush to get an officer who'd been shot and was inside that armored vehicle safely to medics down the road. Seconds later, it speeds back to the shooting scene to get another wounded law enforcement officer. All the while, brave men and women in bulletproof vests and helmets refuse to back down, in the line of fire themselves. A look at the home and you can see the gravity of the situation. Bullet holes lining the outside. Later, an armored truck pushes in, taking the door and windows off the home. Just before 5 p.m., officers make their move, going inside the home, taking 2 people into custody as persons of interest. Moments later, SWAT officers and others seen huddled up before walking away from one of the darkest days in Charlotte.
In Louisiana tonight, a suspect is dead and 3 police officers were shot and wounded after a standoff near New Orleans. The shooting happened this morning at a home in Kenner where 2 people had been shot. The suspect was inside of the house and held officers at bay for hours. A SWAT team was called in and the 3 officers were wounded when they stormed into the house. One of the officers is in critical condition and the suspect was killed.
When they were freeing the robot up, they began receiving gunfire. One of the SWAT officers was able to return fire. The 3 officers that were shot, 2 of them have been released from the hospital. One of them is in stable condition in the hospital.
The suspect was wanted for attempted murder and armed robbery. In Dallas County, tonight a woman has been arrested for shooting her husband several times. 44-year-old Courtney Wigley has been charged with aggravated domestic assault and violence. The shooting happened over the weekend at a couple's home in Columbus where police found her husband with gunshot wounds. He was flown to a hospital in Jackson where he's still being treated. Bond on his wife has not been set and she's still in jail tonight. In Florida, a suspect has been arrested for killing 2 women that he paid to have sex with. A suspect who police say would have killed more if he was not picked up. Here's more on that story tonight from Orlando.
The warrant was issued on a first-degree murder charge.
24-year-old Carlos Baez Nieves grimaced as an Orange County judge read his murder charges aloud for the first time.
He targeted women who he clearly thought would not be missed.
Orange County Sheriff John Mina says Baez Nieves admitted to murdering 41-year-old Fatia Flowers and 44-year-old Nicole Daniels. According to this arrest report, Baez Nieves first picked up Fatia Flowers in March. He agreed to pay her $40 for sex, then strangled her and dumped her body here. 35 days later, deputies say Baez Nieves picked up Nicole Daniels, brought her to his home for sex, and strangled her too.
I'm very confident because of our detectives' relentless efforts in this case that they stopped Baez Nieves from becoming a prolific serial killer.
Mina says Baez Nieves' wife Ford was captured on surveillance video picking up Daniels the night of the murder. Detectives began monitoring him as a suspect before arresting him for driving on a suspended license. Baez Nieves later admitted to killing both women. No one was at Baez Nieves' home when we stopped by today. The neighbors here say they never imagined an accused killer was next door.
People you see smiling every day can turn out to be, the worst people on the planet.
Now, that suspect has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.